Hey, Fanboy Nation.
This is your pal Daffy Duck, and you're watching.
We're watching
You're watching Fanboy.
Fanboy,
A fanboy, etc.
Fanboy Nation.
God, I assume Tom.
This weekend, we're starting off with Dances with Films. This is the near midnight showing with the film entitled Like a Dirty French Novel. Michael Cuenca, and if I pronounce that wrong, sorry, I don't speak Spanish, man. Mike, it's a pleasure to talk to you.
Pleasure to talk to you. You nailed it, though.
Well, cool. I get mistaken for, my family's from the Middle East, so I get mistaken for Cuban by Spanish speakers, and I'm like, dude, I'm not Cuban. I'm Middle Eastern. And yeah, it's like the minute I step out in the sun, like 10 minutes later, I got my my complexion back, and like everyone's speaking Spanish to me. I was like, sorry, pal, I don't know it. Yeah. So why did you title the movie Like a Dirty French Novel?
It's taken from Velvet Underground lyrics, actually. And when I had the initial idea for some of these stories back when I was a teen, and the Velvet Underground was my favorite band of all time at that point. But I was like, I wrote that down to be like, that would be a really cool title for something, So,
whereas say Ferris stole their name from Ferris Bueller's Day Off just because they scribbled it onto a notepad or the book in the movie.
I think it's on a hot air balloon, right? I mean, it's been a minute since I've seen Ferris, but I think it's on a hot air balloon or something like that during the parade.
I'll have to double check. I think it was on a hot air balloon, but someone actually wrote it in their textbook as well, and at the end of the film. So take us through the movie. This is a Grindhouse flick. This is a noir flick. You're a punk rocker yourself. Grindhouse has that punk feel to it. Take us through the details.
So it's kind of a ruse that it's an anthology movie. So we make it seem like these are all self-contained stories that don't really have a fulfilling ending. And as you go along, and it's intentionally confusing, and as you go along, you come to realize maybe by chapter 3 or the middle of chapter 3 or one of the interludes that this is actually a non-linear story, and it's broken down into these chapters. So some of those stories I had since I was a kid, and then when the pandemic hit, I was going to work on something that was going to be very, really similarly toned thing that was going to be like half really like Bergman type serious, a little bit pretentious kind of a movie, and the second half was going to be really zany, over the top, like extremely over the top campiness. And then when I finished that, I was like, man, I don't know if I can do that right now. And also we started coming up, like my friends and I, co-writers and I, we started coming up with all these different scenarios that we could be in during the pandemic. And, like would we swap places with somebody, or if we had like a twin brother or something like that, what would happen if we did that? And so we also didn't want to set it during, it inspired all the stories. And we also didn't want to set it during our pandemic. We set it during this weird thing that's going on in this universe where people kind of fall and can't get back up. And that's kind of what's going on. And all my stuff is set in a shared universe, if you will. So I've been doing that for like a dozen years now. And concurrently, I've been shooting this other project called Boys About Town. It takes place in real time. We started shooting it in 2018. So every few months, we shoot these characters in these small vignettes. So we obviously, because we shoot in real time, we've had to incorporate what's going on in the world into this. But since it's a shared universe, fictional universe, what's going on in that story is reflected in Like a Dirty French Novel.
I dig it, man. I do have to ask though, this is just for me. They couldn't give you midnight exactly. They had to make it 11:55 on Saturday.
I think it's declared so people don't get confused. They're like, wait a second, is that midnight Saturday night? Like when the clock turns to Sunday, or is it Friday night when it turns to? I think it's just to help clarify and be like, it's 11:55 p.m. on a Saturday night, which technically means midnight, right?
Right after the trailers are done showing and the ads for Dances with Films. So I get it. We just got to make a little light of that.
Yeah, totally.
But what's it like being, you're this Cuban kid sitting here making essentially a punk rock film, there's this total Grindhouse thing that's going to have the midnight showing at Dances with Films. Like, how much does that mean to you, man?
Pretty stoked, because we set out to make a really pulpy, fun movie. Not necessarily everything makes sense, and like the acting is very stylized. It's all intentional. I almost toyed with the idea of changing the title to a Dirty Cuban Samba or something like that, because I have primarily Cuban cast. A lot of characters speak Spanish in it. We're kind of underrepresented, you know, film wise. So I really wanted to capture that feel and tone that goes along with that culture, but also be this really heightened, stylized, very, very bizarre, strange universe. It's just supposed to be a fun time. So yeah, being asked to be part of this midnight screening is the best thing that could happen to the flick, you know, in my opinion.
Well, when you make the sequel, you got the title already, and then you just have your dad run in every random interval screaming how much he hates Castro. So you're good to go.
I had him. He passed away now, but I had him in my first aborted feature. I act like it doesn't exist, but he is pretty much the best thing about that flick. And it was a pain in the ass working with him because he was just constantly yelling about how much he hates Castro.
You know, I do have to make mention of this as well. The film is only 78 minutes, and that's kind of become a trend with indie films. It's going between like 75 to 80 minutes, and you tell a concise story in that time period. You know, how much freeing is it that we're no longer restricted to 90, 110, 115, or I'm sorry, 112 and 120 minutes in telling a movie?
Well, I think movies should just be as long as they're supposed to be. You know, some of them keep going on a little too long, but I'm like, you know, I can watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood over and over, and that movie is a lengthy flick and time flies, you know. But I specifically wanted something, like I said, that plays for a Grindhouse crowd, that you can just, you know, come home from a late night of drinking with your buddies and just throw it on. And it's a short movie, and it also allows for a lot of rewatchability, which is kind of the key to this flick, because you can watch it and be like, what the hell, none of this makes sense. And even stuff that you still don't think makes sense, once you start rewatching it, you realize how it's really part of this, you know, for lack of a better term, jigsaw puzzle, you know, which we hint at. That's Amy, and she did all the wardrobe and props and set design for the flick.
Listen, if she's going to pick up after you at this point, at least let get her to wave at the camera.
I know she vanished, I think.
Yeah. So you're having fun with all this stuff, man. The Grindhouse flicks, you know, they've had their ebbs and flows. They've come and gone. You know, it seems like you're a Tarantino fan, and Death Proof is a great flick that he's made. I'm not one of his biggest fans, but I do love that movie. You know, when things flow for you and it just gets this recognition after the other, and unfortunately you lost your dad, but he's been a part of your career from the get-go. What's it like to go back and revisit that first film that you gave up on, and now to be in a film festival of this caliber?
Oh, it's awesome. And and that first flick was, half of it was in Spanish, but I haven't done anything like that. So it is kind of going back to what I was originally trying to do. My goal is eventually to probably just make Spanish led flicks, you know, but yeah, I do things on no budget. And, you know, with this project, it's just like, we were all pent up, we're all stuck inside our homes, and everyone was available. We wanted to work on something. Let's work on something that kind of reflects what's going on, but not really entirely. Like I said, the pandemic and the flick is sort of the MacGuffin. It pushes the story forward, but it's not really something that we need to focus on, you know? Yeah, it's been a blast, and it's great to come back around and then like introduce all these different elements throughout the years that I've learned about or things I've acquired, you know.
And what's something did you learned about yourself as a filmmaker, shooting in a pandemic, going through something that was shot in real time, and then now this film right here that you had to pivot on, or something like, because of what's going on in the world, you had to like be more creative with the setups?
Yeah, because we couldn't shoot stuff out in the street like guerrilla, like we always do with a bunch of people in the background wearing masks. So we had to sort of explain that. But like I said, you know, we have this couple that's no longer together and they're stuck in their apartment. I'm like, yeah, that's a very cliche thing to do. And I'm pretty sure there's probably a zillion no budget movies that have come out, that are going to be coming out, that cover that. And I'm like, well, that's not the point. You know, there's something else lurking there, something else going on within the story, but that's just a setup. Or the guy that's like, you know, fed up with his wife and she has these kids running around the house, and he's really tired of this lifestyle. And then he gets in contact with his estranged twin brother, who maybe just got out of prison, who's very lonely, has no friends. And he goes, you know what? I would kill to have your shitty lifestyle, supposed shitty lifestyle. I would love to have a nagging wife. And he goes, hey, she doesn't know about my past that much. Why don't we swap places? So it's easy to get away with that when the world is the way that it's what the things that we're dealing with right now. So that's again like the stories. This stuff that's going on in real life allowed for these stories to exist. So it's been pretty cool.
And you've worked with Ashlee Elfman and Danny. Is it Rojay?
Dan Rojay.
Dan Rojay. Okay, man, I'm good. I butcher everybody's name at this point. Like, I'm gonna kill it. You've worked with them before on Oblivion and now this project. What's it like doing multiple projects and collaborating with some of your friends? And how do the ideas never dry up at that point?
Different perspectives, and Ashlee has a very particular taste in movies. She loves classic cinema, particularly. I don't think she really watches a lot of modern day stuff, which I do because I'm a cinephile. But I prefer older movies. I pretty much prefer almost anything over before 1981, for example. It's just like I just relate to those movies more, and I love the techniques used, and I love the camera placement and the lack of consistent editing. But with Dan, it's like we've written to other scripts, unproduced scripts that I would never try to do no budget because I know I would ruin them. We need the proper resources for that. It's stuff that we're really, really wholeheartedly proud of. One of them was picked by Francis Coppola for the American Zoetrope screenplay competition in 2020. Very proud of that script. So for something like this, where we're like, hey, we just want to work on something, let's throw these ideas together that we had and just run with it. So having those different perspectives and having them chime in with their own thoughts has been, totally a blessing. It's been awesome, and we tend to agree with our ideas.
I dig it, man. Is Ashlee related to Danny Elfman by any chance?
No, but I used to always joke around about that. I've known her for maybe close to 20 years, but I used to say that when we were a lot younger. But she was one of the co-writers on Oblivion, which was our half-hour long punk rock web series that we also did with a bunch of friends and a lot of people that were involved in the scene.
See, the internet ruins everything, man. She could have done an indie film in Texas, totally lied to everybody and go, "Nah, I'm his third cousin or whatever."
Sure,
and, yeah. Gotten funding for it.
Yeah. Alas.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's good things and bad things about the internet. So this is one of them that's on the bad side.
Yeah.
Dances with Film is such a big deal. It's going to be at the Chinese Theater in Hollywood on the 28th, 11:55. To have your movie there, and being a cinephile, what is it like for you to sit there now? Red carpet and everything.
Yeah, it's a green carpet apparently. Yeah. But they never had a red carpet, so they had to go for a green.
They'll superimpose the red over it.
Yeah, right. Just Photoshop anything,
Did you ever think that at that point that you'd sit there and go, no, I'm going to have a movie that's going to be at the Chinese Theater?
I never would have thought that, especially something like this, which we just whipped up, and it's just intentionally, like I said, a pulpy, fun movie that you should watch drunk with friends, which it won't make any sense if you do that, but
you know what? Maybe not at the Chinese Theater, but when it's finally released on home entertainment for Blu-ray, DVD, digital, whatever, that's the time to sit home and kick back with your friends with a few beers.
Totally.
Yeah. This is going to be one of those Midnight Madness movies, the way Turbo Kid was, the way Rocky Horror Picture Show is, and all that stuff. Is it that big of an honor to be featured at Chinese Theater? Or is it going to be a huge deal for a grimy New York or San Francisco Grindhouse theater?
I mean, both, right? That'd be cool because that's the New York Grindhouse grimy theater would be the ideal setting for that, and to watch it in this prestigious, renowned Cineplex where obviously the AF5 Film Fest is held there. I mean, it's pretty damn awesome, and it's not too far away from where I live, and it's quite an honor, like I said, but. The ideal setting is the other one.
Well, let's be honest. How much more punk rock can you get to have a Grindhouse film at the Chinese Theater?
I know, right? What a contradiction.
Mike, where can we find you and the film on social media? Because I know you got stuff to do and you got to get ready for this weekend. So it's got to be a big deal for you.
I'm on Instagram, Mike Cuenca. I have a Tumblr that usually I try to update with film stuff. If you go on there, you can access all my other flicks, and you can prepare for this shared universe, because we do have a lot of Easter eggs in there. So if you followed my stuff when we had this really private cast screening, it was really fun because one of the cast members in Dirty French Novel, Amanda Viola, she plays the bicyclist character. So So the other thing that I do with the cast is that I never give them the full script. So they only have their scenes. So they really have no idea what they're getting into. It's part of the kick that I get out of watching a movie for the first time with the whole cast and crew. Cause they're like, this is what the movie is about. And it's so fun just to see their reactions. It's my favorite thing out of the whole filmmaking process, to be honest with you. But like, there's a scene where the sexy caller that's contacting Hugh and knows his past and all this stuff, and she's tempting him. And she says, he brings up his ex, who a part of my French novel here, but gave him really great head, right? And he brings up the name, and he says, "Oh, you're talking about I'm forgetting her name now," but he mentions the character's name, and the caller goes, "Oh, the bartender," and that's the character that Amanda played in I'll Be Around, my prior flick. So there's little references like that. So I heard her cackling at the back of the theater when she heard her character's name being mentioned, and that her character gives great head.
Hey, you got a shared universe and everything that's going on there, man. So I'm thrilled for you. Yeah,
so it's fun stuff.
But like a dirty French novel, we can't give away too much, man, because it's 78 minutes, and I don't want like people to sit there and go, "What the hell they're talking about?" You know, this is a killer, fun, crazy film that people need to see at Dances with Films this weekend, 11:59 p.m. Saturday, August 28th. Mike, it's been a pleasure talking to you, man.
Likewise.
You know, by the way, you got to let me come out for the next premiere because I got to see what you guys are doing when we can all finally get together.
I know, right?
All right, man. Take it easy.
All right, you too.
All right.